The majority of cases go through a process of mediation. So what is it and when is it appropriate?
And how do you find a mediator?
Mediation is really just a process of negotiation where parties who have some kind of dispute are helped by a third-party neutral, a trained person called a mediator to help them to resolve that dispute. And the mediator will try to help the parties to communicate more effectively. They'll discuss what's going on in the dispute and will hopefully help them to come to some kind of common ground and a mutually acceptable way of resolving the issue.
Either you can sort it out through mediation, which is fantastic, much better way to deal with matters, or if it's not suitable, you get the certificate to issue your application to the court. What you need is information. You need to know how to do this, and that's where a charity such as ours comes in, or the support by court service. So you need to get clear in your head, what is the process and what do I need to do?
There's a body called the Family Mediation Council, and they represent a group of different mediation trainers. And they have a list of registered mediators who are properly trained, who are regulated, who go through ongoing professional development. They've often got insurance as well. And that can be a way of safeguarding and ensuring that this is an appropriate person to resolve the dispute. Mediation is not going to be appropriate in every case. I think it usually will be, but there'll be some instances, and for some parties it just won't be the right thing to do, particularly if there's been a history of domestic violence in a relationship, or there are welfare concerns about one of the parties in the relationship, then mediation is probably not going to be appropriate in those cases. Normally in a mediation, the parties attend a mediation with the mediator, but without their lawyers. In some other contexts, lawyers quite commonly represent clients in mediation, but that's not usually what happens in family mediation. But nonetheless, quite often parties will have access to legal advice and assistance while the mediation processes are ongoing. In terms of what mediation looks like in the family environment, then usually it's a series of meetings that we have. So normally there might be between 3 and 5 different separate mediation sessions over perhaps a 4 to 6 week period of an hour to 2 duration for each one. And normally at the beginning, the mediator tries to put the parties at ease. He or she will try to gain their trusts and will ask them to tell their story, to tell them what's happened from their point of view, what's important for them, what issues they want to discuss, and hopefully help them come to a way in which those issues can be resolved in a mutually acceptable way.
So that's what the process looks like.
But what are the benefits of mediation?
I think there are lots of benefits of mediation. If you think about family disputes, divorce, separation, it can often be highly emotional, highly charged. The parties become really at loggerheads very quickly with each other. And going to court, getting lawyers, issuing threats, accusations, it can really heighten that and really damage and destroy any relationship that's ongoing. Mediation is more conciliatory. It's about the parties coming together. It's about them working together to find a solution that suits them both. And I think that particularly if children are involved, and whether or not the parties like it, they're going to have some kind of continuing relationship going on to look after those children. And I think mediation can really, really help with that. Other benefits are that mediation is what's called without prejudice, and it means that if it doesn't work, you can still go back to court afterwards. And nothing you say, nothing disclosed in the mediation can be used against you if the matter does go to family court. And I think that gives parties real assurances about the mediation process. And also simply it can be quicker, it can be cheaper for the parties involved. In terms of what happens after mediation, that depends upon what occurs within the mediation. We know that most cases settle, about 70% of family mediations settle in England. Those settlements are not, strictly speaking, legally binding, but you can apply to court to have it converted into what's called a consent order, and that makes the settlement legally binding at that stage. Sometimes mediation agreements will break down, I think quite rarely actually, and if that's the case you can either go back to mediation to try to resolve that, or you can take the matter to court.
Mediation can be expensive. Let's look at what you can do to minimise the costs.
If one party is eligible for legal aid, then it means that the other party will have the first couple of sessions paid for them as well, and thereafter they'll have to meet their own costs at that stage. In terms of the amount that mediators charge, it does vary, but the Family Mediation Council rates suggest that on average it will cost about £140 per hour per person for mediation.
When I first started the court case, I was under the age of 18, and the main problem was legal aid, because I wasn't working and they were asking for money for mediation, and I didn't know what to do then. So my Mackenzie friend got in touch with the mediation people, and they'd asked me to get proof that I wasn't working or stuff like that. And as soon as I showed that proof, I got my money back, and it was a pretty good process.